What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I just finished watching episode 4, season 2 of The Boys. Man, this episode was a little crazy, a little weird, a little creepy, all at the same time. Okay? So, they are on Butcher. Okay, let's start with Butcher. Butcher is on the hunt for his wife, Becca. Okay? So, finally he gets an idea of where she is because Mallory, I guess, kind of figured out where she might be. And out of good faith, out of a kind heart, she gave him the information. So now he wants to go, but he wants to go alone. He doesn't want to go with the crew. So in the meantime, the crew is looking for some information in regards to the superhero called Liberty. Okay, we don't know much about her, but they're on this hunt. Okay. Meanwhile, you see along the episode that there is an interview happening with all these girls. And we don't know until the end why. It's really strange. So as you guys know, they're trying to get the Deep back into the 7, but he needs to have like a really good image. So at the end of the episode, we find out that they're interviewing these girls to be his wife. And they all have these crazy stories. But this lady, I guess this is some type of church organization. I don't know what this is. But anyway, so Kimiko is still like, she is like really, she wants Stormfront like bad, like really bad. And at one point we see Stormfront talking in front of a bunch of people outside somewhere, and you see Kimiko walking towards her, and I'm like, oh shoot, it's about to go down. And right before she gets to her, Frenchie comes out of nowhere, and he's kind of holding her back. We get a little bit of a little background with Frenchie here. I don't know if you would call it a background, but in the beginning, we see that she is still grieving the loss of her brother, and she is now like under a table watching TV, and we're seeing all the BS that's going on in the news, and you know how all this stuff happened, and you see Stormfront just talking the BS that they're trained to talk. And Frenchie tries to kiss Kimiko, and she like pushes him or whatever against the wall. He gets scared, so then he seeks out his other little plaything that we've seen a few times. So basically, when we see them, they get together and they do whatever. She's like, what's really going on? So she feels like he is trying so hard to help Kimiko because he's trying to figure out a way to do something good for all the bad that he's done. And that may be true. We see him in the beginning kind of doing a little sniffing or whatever. But that may be true. That may be why he's going so hard with Kimiko. We don't know yet because we kind of starting to get bits and pieces of people's backgrounds and stuff like that. So anyway, at another point we see Starlight in the elevator, and here comes Homelander, and he's basically threatening her to kill her because she didn't kill Huey when he wanted her to. And you know, she got herself out of that by saying they're not together or whatever. But he was like really digging into her. I don't know if it was her pelvis or what. I was like, oh man, come on, stop. He really irks my nerve. So then we see that he ends up at this cabin at night. He goes into the cabin and out walks Madeline. And I'm like, wait a minute, she's alive? And then as that little situation goes on, we see that it's really not her. It's the darn Doppelgänger, the shapeshifter guy. And that was really weird to see because I'm like, he's really setting this up to where he can have her still there whenever he wants her. and you see her kind of like trying to feed him like milk. It's so disgusting. Like, it's really, this whole milk thing, it's just disgusting, okay? I really just want to like gouge his eyes out. Like, I seriously can't stand Homelander. I just cannot. And Stormfront even less. Like, I can't stand her. I just can't stand her. I can't stand anything about her, okay? So, you know, we see that finally Butcher reaches his destination, and he finally gets to see Becca, and they're talking, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get them out of there. They do whatever. You know, like she goes, she shows that she's out for a smoke just to meet him, and then she leaves and comes back, and they do the damn thing together, and then he's basically like, you know, we're going to figure this out. I'm going to get you out of here. So when it's time for them to go, she shows up late and by herself. So she basically is sitting here like telling him like, look, I saw it in your face. Like, you really don't want him to be here. You're going to try to get rid of him. And he's not really saying anything to deny that. And then he says that, you know, she's not raising him up to be like any of them, even though he has Homelander's powers. Like, he seems to be a really sweet kid. Like, he's afraid to do anything superhero-ish because he just doesn't believe that he's a superhero. So, but Butcher's just, he just wants to be with his wife, and his wife is put in a position to choose to stay in this life and not go with him, because that means that she has to let her son go, and that's still her son. You know what I mean? Like, she birthed him. It's not like that was somebody that was in a lab and it was given to her. So she has that connection, and it's like, yo, that's my son. You know, I can't do anything about this. And, you know, his rage and the way that he is going to put a lot of people in danger. She knows how bad, you know, he wants Homelander. And so she's not willing to risk losing more lives, their lives, her life, her son's life. So she makes the hard decision to walk away from him. I feel kind of bad for Butcher because he spent all this time thinking that she was dead. And finally, when he found out that she was alive, he was trying to figure out a way to get to her. All of this for her to just, you know, for her to make the harsh decision that she can't go with him. And I know, like, that's, you know, that sucks. Meanwhile, Black Noir is actually looking for Butcher, and I don't know why. They're always picking at this one assist. I don't know what she is. She's like one of the tech people there. They're always going to her to find information. So he's sitting right next to her, waiting for her to find out where Butcher is, and they find him, and he's kind of like looking like at the screen, like, finally, and you see Butcher like throwing up his middle finger at the camera. A-Train just plainly got kicked out of the 7 because of his heart issue. Because he's walking in the hallway in Vault, and he sees, I don't know what the guy's name, I forgot. I don't know if it's Lightning or something to that effect. I don't know if it's the same guy that he has been racing. But Homelander just comes in and blatantly says, yep, you're out, you're gone. And he's like, nah, I'm not going anywhere. And, you know, that kind of goes back and forth. So that was that. Like, apparently he's out of the 7 now. And I don't know, like, we didn't see any more of A-Train at that point after that. So as the story's going along, this whole story about Liberty. So Huey gets together with Starlight, and they are supposed to be going out to down south to find out more information about this Liberty person. So they get to the address where they're told to go. And there's this lady there who, I forget her name, but I know her from a different world. But anyway, so at first she didn't understand. She thought they were from Vault, but all 3 of them went, and they go to her house. They meet up with her. After a little bit of dialogue, they're invited in. So they're sitting there talking, and she tells a story about what happened with her and her brother. And apparently Liberty seemed to be racist, because this is a Black woman who, this was like 40-something years ago. She was with her brother. Her brother was driving. It was a rainy day, and all of a sudden they stopped this soup, whoever she is. She couldn't really see her face. Well, we couldn't see her face. But she kind of took him out of the car. She was like, you were driving a stolen car. And he's like, no, this is not a stolen car. I've been with this, this is my car. I don't know what you're talking about, lady. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. And she says something like, yeah, I'm getting rid of a black kid or a black guy or something like that. So she seems racist. Meanwhile, the sister gets out of the car and his face is absolutely disfigured. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's wild. So all this time she's been in hideout. She hasn't said a word about it, but she's sitting here talking to them. So he's like, well, how do you know what she looks like? She's probably dead by now, and she's keeping all of these newspapers. She pulls out a newspaper. She's like, this is her. The picture on the newspaper is Stormfront. And I'm like, is Stormfront Liberty? So they all get back in the car. This is all over now. And they're like, well, what if Compound V caused her to kind of regenerate, like go back in age or whatever? She didn't really see her face, so we don't really know if it's really her. So at one point we see her talking to Homelander, and they're in this room, and she's kind of antagonizing him, and she kind of pushes him a little too far. So she's talking to him and she's getting close to him, and she's kind of saying all these things to him. And then at one point she says something along the lines of, get with the times, I had to. And I'm like, that kind of made me wonder, she just might be Liberty. We don't know. We have to see how the story goes. But towards the end of this episode, okay, Homelander goes back to this cabin where he sees the doppelganger again, who looks like Madeline. And he's just like, he's like, I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. It's almost like the scripted thing that he's got her doing over and over and over again. So then she's like, well, who do you want me to be? You want me to be anybody else? And then the doppelganger turns into Homelander. So we see Homelander standing there with some type of negligee. And he's looking at Homelander, and he's just like, we don't need anybody or something like that. And he gets close to him, and he starts to, I'm trying to keep this PG, y'all. He's throwing like advances at him and telling him all these crazy things. And then he starts getting on his knees. And I'm like, whoa, what is happening here? I'm just like, oh my God. What are we about to see? So then Homelander gets really pissed off. He's like, I don't need anybody. You're pathetic. And he's crying. He's all emotional. All of a sudden, he's grabbing him by the neck. And he snaps his neck with one hand. Like, hard. You guys have to go see my reaction to that. And I'm like, oh, man. That is wild. So, yeah. This episode had a little bit of everything in it. But anyway. There goes my my thoughts and review. I think that Stormfront is Liberty, but we have to wait to find out. We don't know what A-Train is going to do because he just got kicked out of Vault. The Deep has to show up looking like he's a new man with a wife. Starlight really broke it off with Huey. Like, they can't do this anymore. We know a little bit about MM. So apparently something happened with his father, with Vault. But I don't know if while they were in the car, he said he was just a sick man. So I don't know if that was just a story he told, just to kind of get some information out of the lady who was talking to him about Liberty. But, and there was another part where they were at this little diner spot at night, and an accident happened, like right in front of them. And Starlight was going to go right into like superhero mode, but they needed to keep their cover. And I know that ate her up so much. Like, she's like probably the only good one. Oh, and let's not talk about Homelander being the jerk that he is. He was doing an interview with Maeve, and he knows a little more about her ex than she thinks. So they're doing this interview, and the interviewer is talking about diversity and why is it that Vault doesn't have diversity, or the Seven. And he's like, well, we have diversity. We have A-Train, who's a black guy, and Black Noir, who's black. And I'm just like, first of all, how do we know that he's black? He's just dressed in black, you know? He's like, oh, we have a gay person as part of the 7. And they're like, one of the 7 is gay. She's like, who is it? Maeve. And I was just like, what? Like, how could you sit there and do that to her in front of national television? Like, he basically just way overstepped his boundaries by putting her business out there like that. Now she's scared because she thinks that he did something to her ex. But he's like, they're like talking back and forth after the interview, and he's like, do you love her? And she basically said yes without saying. He's like, I'm happy for you. Yeah, right. So I think something's going to happen with Elena. I don't know, but we'll see what happens with that. But this episode just was full of some craziness, y'all. It was really crazy. But anyway, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think of episode 4, season 2 of The Boys. Let me know if you enjoyed my review. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel, hit like, share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified whenever I pop up on your feed. I'll see you guys later.